welcome to Picture Book Chat. I'm Mary Ellen Brax, the Public Services Manager for Early Learning.
And I'm Sheri Boggs. I am the Youth Collection Development Librarian for the Spokane County Library District. Mary Ellen, I understand we're talking about beginning readers today.
Yes, we are. So a little bit different format for our Picture Book Chat today, but we thought we'd like to do something about our beginning readers section today. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of an explanation about beginning readers. So beginning readers are those books that once kids enjoy picture books for a long time, but once they start reading on their own or starting to learn to read, you want to go over to the beginning readers section, just because the way the books are set up, it's made for those that are developing new reading skills, that decoding of words, and it can be overwhelming, to say the least. Every publisher has a different way that they present their readers with different levels. Every level is different. The levels between publishers don't always correspond, and sometimes the levels even within the same publisher don't correspond together. So basically, we went through our reader collection and started to level them. And it was based off another library system. We had been to a conference. Conferences are great for getting new ideas, and saw what a library system had done in Michigan, I think it was. And so we chatted with them for quite a little while afterwards, and then decided, wow, I think we're going to tackle this. And it was quite the undertaking. But basically what we've done is divided our readers into different areas. So we start off, we have 4 levels, and they're all color coded too. So when you go into any library and you say, oh, I'm looking for beginning readers for my child, he's in 1st grade and he's just starting to read, this is the section where we're going to take you, the beginning readers. And we call them just right readers, because really what you want to do is find the just right book for where your child is as they're learning how to read, which can be difficult. So we've got 4 areas. The first area is called pre-emergent. So this is at the very beginning. We have labels that are color coded. This would be our white labels, and it has a big E on it for ER on it for early reader. And for this one, we're really looking at really big print and pictures that kind of describe what's going on the page. And in case you're wondering why the door opened, the dog just walked in. Oh no, it was a cat. And so there's just a couple of words on each page. So very, simple, a lot of white space, a lot of times that the picture will correspond with the word that's on the page. Then we go up to emergent readers. And when you're looking for those, you'll notice they still have the large print there, but you're going to get a few more words on the page, and you're also going to get a storyline, because the pre-emergent ones really are words. You might get the idea of a story, but really in the emergent, that's where you're really going to start getting a storyline. And this is really what hooks a lot of kids' attention too, that suddenly they're reading sentences. They're being able to sound out the words. Then we go into what we call the early fluent, and those stickers are red. So you're looking for the red. So maybe they're just starting to read. They're getting pretty good at decoding words there. So you'll see smaller print, maybe less pictures, not quite as detail oriented maybe. And you're going to have a more complex storyline. And then we go into our fluent, and those, it's kind of a teal green color. And basically a lot more vocabulary, a lot more text on the page. You're going to get more complex ideas. You might even get some that are kind of semi chapters in there, really little chapters in there. And then once kids get to that place and are what we call fluent in reading, they're really getting the hang of it at this point. Then they move up into our chapter book collection. And so, yeah, there, even when they get into the chapter book collection, we have some smaller chapter books too to help out with that. But really the biggest place to navigate, I feel like, is our reader collection. It's really difficult. And the reason we came up with this is because a lot of times parents would come in not knowing where to go, and our staff, not all of our staff would know where to go too. So we feel like this has been a help. A lot of the reading teachers have come. We've got bookmarks that describe the different levels for people to use as a guide as you're looking for what your kids are reading. But there can be some variation within each level too.
Yes.
The hardest ones for us to find are those really simple ones with just 1 or 2 words on the page. So we don't have as many of those. But then once you get into the emergent reader and the early fluent, then we're getting into, some series that you might remember: Frog and Toad, Hank the
Elephant and
Cowbell.
Piggy.
Yeah, Elephant and Piggy. And some of the ones that I know I loved as a child are still in print and they still use. So we can see those Dr. Seuss readers are sometimes in there. Dr. Seuss are kind of hard, which is why they came up with the reader series, actually, because Dr. Seuss can be quite difficult to read.
Yes.
But the one we all kind of know is The Cat in the Hat. So
yes.
So Sheri has found some great new ones for us to talk about today. So we'll give you some examples. We're going to be giving you some examples in the yellow and the red category today. That's just where they happen to fall into. And what we're really going to want to hear from you all after you see this, is this something you'd like us to do again and on a more regular basis? So don't be afraid to put in a comment if you'd like to see more about this to help you guide your kiddos in reading. So Sheri, what's our first book that we're going to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that we're doing this. So the first one that we're talking about is Fish and Sun. This is a new series by Sergio Ruzzier. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. What I love about this is a new series from HarperCollins' I Can Read series. And you might recognize this little banner, I Can Read. They've been doing easy readers forever. And the first book I remember reading by myself was Little Bear by Elsa Homeland Vinerick.
Yes.
That was this imprint. Like, even seeing that book
one I was trying to remember.
Yeah. There's just something magical about seeing that book that the first one that you remember reading yourself, and just kind of how that comes together. So I have a soft spot for HarperCollins and the I Can Read series. This is their foray into comics, and I was lucky enough to serve on the Theodore Seuss Geisel committee, and that's named after Dr. Seuss, and it's a committee that awards every year the most distinguished beginning reader. And I love that they're being recognized as a literary form in and of themselves. It's really hard to write an entertaining story with a limited vocabulary.
Yes.
And that was the assignment that was given to Dr. Seuss with The Cat in the Hat. Like, you've got this group of sight words, write a story, go, and make it fun and appealing to kids. So I love that it's just become such a big area of growth over the last 50 years, and that we're seeing all these new things. And one of the things I learned when I was on the Geisel committee is that comics, the convention of having like a word bubble when you see characters talking to each other, that can be really helpful for kids beginning to read. This one, I wish it did what the Elephant and Piggy books do, which those word bubbles match the colors of the characters.
Yes.
So when Gerald, the elephant, is talking, his bubble is gray. When Piggy is talking, hers is pink. I wish that they were doing the same thing here, but there's something about having, I think the friendship formula is really good for kids learning to read, because that's something that they're experiencing at school. It's really relevant to them. And then just being able to, it's almost like how kids play, like, this Barbie doll says to this other Barbie doll, it's really, they can kind of tap into that. This person saying to this person says this back, like they get that. So this one, it's very simple. It's a friendship story, Fish and Sun. I love that it's kind of, you see this a lot in beginning readers, the friendship formula. I love that it starts with, Mom, I'm bored. And it's dark and cold here. I'm going out, but you haven't had breakfast yet. I love kind of this really subdued color palette. Again, it's kind of the pastels. Some of these can be really, in order to attract kids' attention, they can be like super bright. And I like this is kind of a gentle beginning reader. And it's, a graphic novel that's super accessible. Like there's not a lot happening with some of the teal books in our collection. Like there can be so much going on. A lot of them are based on, popular cartoons and movies and TV shows. And so they're just packed with stuff to look at. And I like that this is kind of, it gives the reader's eye places to rest. And that's another thing that's important with beginning readers, like learning to decode is really, it's hard on your brain, it's hard on your eyes. And what I love about these easier ones is it gives them the chance to do that. Like you get a sense of accomplishment, like you can get to the end of the page and you can kind of rest and then turn the page. So this one's just really sweet. The fish jumps out of the water and he makes a new friend, which is the sun. And they have this kind of hide and seek thing where the sun goes behind the clouds. And it's just like, it's not super crazy or super funny. It's just sweet. I really like this because it's so accessible. And this illustrator's done a bunch of books. There's another beginning reader series that they've done that's for older kids. And I think that one's called Fox and Chick. And those have been really popular here too. But I really like this one. Earlier, I mentioned Elephant and Piggy, and I wanted to talk about their spin-off series. After doing something like 20 Elephant and Piggy books, Mo Willems decided to just kind of open this up to other illustrators and authors that he really liked. And so this is like their spin-off series, and it always starts like they're on the end papers, and they always have like this little vignette that introduces the story. And this is by Andrea Tsurumi. And this is kind of, if I could summarize this one, it's kind of fun with prepositions. Because it starts, like, look at me, frog. Okay, goat. I'm on it. Ooh. And this has the colored word bubbles that match the characters like I was talking about. I think that's so useful. This is kind of a arms race as they find different things to jump on and things to be beside and things to be inside. So I think this can be fun for kids, like just kind of laughing at the different things that they find to kind of compete. They're balancing all this stuff along it. But again, I like there's a lot going on here, but there's like a lot of white space kind of around everything. So it's not going to be super taxing. There's a lot of repetition with the words. Like there's not a lot of new words to learn as you're reading it. Again, it's those sight words that, it gives the kid a sense of mastery. To be like, I know that word. I saw that word. I got this one.
A lot of repetition.
It's great. But it's also funny. Like, I am so into this. So I just, with these friend stories, I think the competition element can be really fun for kids. This is one of our yellow ones. I would say it's a more advanced yellow one, I think. Of those, just because, there's a little bit more text. It's still big text. And it's a little bit longer, I think, than most. So there's that one. I've got one more yellow. Is there anything you wanted to say about these first two, Mary Ellen?
Well, I thought this one was great fun. I can see the kids really getting into this one. And I do agree. I think this is a good way to start off. So, and then you can lead up into this. But this is the type of thing that I see really grabbing kids' attention and really trying hard to get it. And, and there's some exclamation in here too, which is, not into this. So with the bigger, bolder words, so they're starting to get to learn what some of those words will be, which a lot of times you usually see in kind of that early fluent section. So I mean, both I think have a lot of kid appeal. too, because that's the hard thing that, will it have kid appeal? Will it really inspire them to keep trying to decode the words? And so that repetition is really important.
Yeah.
That's why there is so much repetition in these readers, so they get to recognize that kind of whole word recognition, but yet there's still words that they can sound out, and kids really need to have that phonemic background where they know what the sounds are for the letters. So it needs to be kind of both things, you have
Yeah.
your sight recognition words, but you also have to be able to decode a word that you don't know. I still run across words sometimes I don't know. So
Same here.
yeah, so yeah, I like these. And what about the third one?
Well, and I wanted to say one more thing
Sure.
about these with the decoding is like the illustrations are so important in helping kids.
Yes.
Like the illustrations in here really go along with the text. And I have to say some of the Teal Easy readers that have to do with a popular character, like sometimes they're just taking a still from the cartoon and it doesn't necessarily match up. So I think those can be some of the licensed character ones. I'm trying to think, like Paw Patrol, some of the Disney tie-in stuff. They're super appealing to kids because of stuff that they know, but sometimes the illustrations aren't really going to help them decode the text as well.
Exactly. Well, and I'll just give you a great example of this page here.
Yeah.
And, watch me. I'm on it, along it, above it, inside it, through it, and around it. So they've seen all these words in previous pages too. So, and just the expressions.
Yeah.
Boggs face sometimes are priceless. So yes, and I'm glad you brought that up about the pictures matching what's going on the page, because that is super important, because a lot of times kids can look to the picture for some clue.
Yeah. And sometimes our staff will ask, well, why did you make this one, a yellow and this one that seems like the text is the same size? Like, why did you make that one a red and that one a yellow? And sometimes it has to do with how well the illustrations help tell the story, because I think we think like the size of the text is the only thing that matters when you're talking about something being easy to read, but there's so many other things that go into it. And the illustrations are part of it, like just being able to help the kid tell what's going on.
And the sentence structure makes a
right,
difference
the vocabulary.
Too. How long is the sentence, and are there repeating words in the sentence too? Because if it's an all new word set, then that's going to be harder than if there's 4 or 5 words that they've already seen that repeat in that same sentence, just in a different combination or order. So
We've got a method, people.
Yeah.
It's not just whim. My next book is this is part of a series. This is another one of the I Can Read from HarperCollins. Ty's Travels is a new kind of mini series that they've done. One of the previous books, I think the first one in the series was a honor book for the Geisel, kind of a runner up. But I love, like, obviously it's diverse. Like in easy readers, like you see lots of animals as main characters. And you don't see as many kids. When you do see kids, they have tended to be white. So I love that this is, a move into a more diverse, inclusive direction. This one uses a lot of sight words, really simple sentence structure, easy plot. Another thing I loved about this one is you often don't see parent-child interactions in easy readers as much. Like you see the friendships.
Right.
But when I saw this, I was kind of hard pressed to remember another easy reader with humans as characters where there's a parent figure. Like I was thinking Little Bear, there's the mother bear, but the bears, so I just like that this has a real world setting, I think, for kids. And sometimes kids like that. It's reassuring that this takes place in a world that they recognize and understand. Ty and Daddy dig, they find seashells, they build a sandcastle. So it's got that repetitive sentence structure. Once again, it's giving kids confidence. And the plot is, they travel to different places, something will happen. In this case, we lose a beach ball. So there's kind of a, what will happen dynamic, really gentle, but They call it, when we were on the Geisel committee, they call it a page turning dynamic. Like it's important to have something happening in the story where like the right hand page kind of raises a question. Like you kind of want this page to be the one that makes things suspenseful. So they want to turn the page to see what happens next. So super cool. That's kind of something to look for when you're looking at easy readers. I'm going to move into some red ones now.
Oh, let me say something about this one though, because we talked about activities and looking at the pictures, and you know, when you're reading this one with a child, they often repeat, what will Ty see next? So what you could do is turn the page, talk about what's going on the page, and then read the text too. So if you have a child that's struggling, any book with a question like that, you can go ahead, you can say, what do you think they'll do next? Then you can go ahead and look at the picture, talk about it, and then read it. So that really helps with the coding. And I also love that they're in the backyard, but they're picturing the beach, you know, and too. So there's a great imagination to this story, I thought. So yeah, it was one of the ones I thought that, you know, they're in the backyard, but they're really thinking about being at the beach. And so just like, what can you do? I mean, I can see where kids could really run with that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in the backyard, I'm playing, I'm doing this. Ooh, but really where I'm thinking I am is someplace on a mountaintop, you know? So yeah. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but before I didn't want to lose that.
No, and that's a good point. Like now that I think about it, I think with that series, they're all kind of like that, you know, like he's here, but he's in his mind, he's in this other place. And you know, like it's a real world setting, but then there's also this element of imagination that I think can be really fun.
Yeah, there's a place for both, right?
Exactly. Speaking of fun, my next one, this one literally made me laugh out loud, which, you know, like I'm a jaded children's buyer, like not everything that's supposed to be funny makes me laugh, but this one was kind of a sleeper. I didn't expect it to be that funny. And this one comes from Holiday House. And I just want to say something about this line, because when we were talking about our easiest beginning readers, Holiday House is a publisher that we found to be pretty reliable for the ones, you know, in our white section, that, you know, the easiest ones, because, you know, a lot of them, it's just like a word or two on a page. They're really easy to follow. This is a new line that they're doing that's comics. But I found like it's a little bit busier. So they're not like, these are a red rather than a yellow or a white, just because there's so much activity going on.
Right.
The text is kind of moving all around as you go through the book. Like that's another thing. If the text is in the same place on every page, that's kind of easier for kids. This one's a little bit more work. But this one's so great. So Frog is at the library. He's checking out a book. He sees this object on the ground and it's a deflated ball. And he's like, huh. So he kicks it and it makes it mad. So all of a sudden you've got this sentient ball that's a character in the story. And I love that it starts to chase him. Yeah. And again, like what I love about this, it's a really limited vocabulary and it's really hard to tell a funny story with simple words. And this one pulls it off. The ball comes back. Help, Frog runs. Like it's so simple, but it's kind of funny. Help, the ball chases Frog. Help, Frog runs to the library. So then you get all the chaos of the ball in the library. It's bouncing at the reference desk. It's disrupting a checkers game. It interrupts the puppet show. So I think, you know, kids that have had that experience of going to the library, this will be hilarious to them. No balls allowed. Frog hides. Frog hides again. So it's just a simple story of this ball chasing the character, but it's super dramatic. I think kids are going to wonder how this is going to be resolved. I won't tell you how it's going to be resolved. I don't want to do it, but it's just, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. I don't know this author, Caple, but I've really liked her other Holiday House books, and I'm excited to see other comics that they're going to do in this I Like to Read series. Did you have any thoughts on this one, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, you know, I just think that comic structure appeals to a lot of kiddos. So yeah, and I think the red area, the early fluent was the right place to put it, just because even just the print's a lot smaller. There's a lot
Yes,
more squares on the page. This is a lot to work through, which
it
is
really
nice
is.
that the words repeat here a lot. So yeah, I could really see a child really enjoying this. So this was one I thought it made me laugh out loud too. So I mean, I just thought, oh wow, that's a really fun one. I can see kids really
Yeah,
enjoying that one. Hmm.
I like that a lot.
Definitely.
And I'm going to finish with another funny one.
Hmm.
This is from Candlewick Press. This one is See the Dog. Mary Ellen, what's wrong with this picture?
But it's a cat. It's
It
not a
is
dog.
a cat. So right away, you've got like a, kind of an in joke with this whole cover. This is the sequel to this one won the Geisel Award, I think last year, See the Cat, 3 Stories About a Dog. And you can kind of see the picture on the back. So this is the follow-up. And this is one where you kind of have an external narrator kind of, I'm thinking of The Book with No Pictures by
Yes.
BJ Novak. It's kind of
Hmm.
that thing where there's an outside character kind of talking to the character in the story. So like, See the Dog. Hello. Again, it's funny. The dog is sick today. He asked me to take his place.
Hmm.
See the dog run. Ta-da! And again, I put this in red, even though it's pretty simple text and there's not a lot going on. But I think if you've got some really literal kids,
Hmm.
I think the
Yeah.
humor in this is kind of at a level where, like they're going to be working on a couple different levels. They're
Hmm.
going to be working to decode and then working to get the joke.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's stuff like this, like huge capitals. He's supposed to stop digging holes, but he's got this backhoe. I just think this is another one that's going to be super funny for kids. And this is one that's got kind of 3 stories in one book. That's another thing that kind
Yeah.
of elevates it. That
Hmm. Definitely.
instead of one narrative all the way through, you've got 3 different kind of mini stories to keep track of.
Yeah.
But I think these are great fun. I hope that this author keeps going, maybe with different
Hmm.
animals. But even
Hmm.
if they don't, See the Cat and See the Dog, I think are really fun. What were
Yeah.
your thoughts on this one, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, I thought this was the perfect place for it, the early
Okay.
fluent. And just the language in here just doesn't, it seems more natural. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this is one of the, so it seems more natural than sometimes the language can be kind of, as we're teaching kids how to read, it can be just kind of stilted.
Yes.
So this one had some real feeling around it. So I really enjoyed this. I thought it was hysterical.
Mhm.
Like they talk about, there's a one little story about a sheep, and it says, see the brave dog protect the sheep from the wolf. No one told me there was a wolf in this story. So I mean, it's really, I mean, I think we've made such great strides with early readers,
Yeah.
in terms of really catching kids' attention, um, and just making it more enjoyable than what,
Mhm.
even from what we had. I mean, we had Danny
Oh
and the
gosh.
dinosaur, and I love the little bear stories like you did. There was one, Big Max, I think was one I had as a
Oh, okay.
kid.
I don't know that
There was
one.
one about a dog too that I absolutely loved. But so this would have been big appeal for me.
Yeah.
But they're just doing so much better with this. And if kids are really motivated to read, they're going to work at it more.
Mhm.
And this is the type of thing they do need an adult sitting with them as they're
Yeah.
reading until they really get it to click in. And kids love to be read to for a really long time into
Mhm.
elementary school. But before they get to that independent, true independent reading, they do need somebody with them reading. And so it's nice that they're enjoyable for both the child and the adult. So
It's always nice.
yes, so this is one of those. So I just thought that was a really good. So
Mhm.
um yeah, a great selection of readers, and it was nice to see the progression through through the different levels that we have too. So as I said before at the beginning, if you like this, let us know. If you want us to do more like this, we're happy to do that. We're just trying to do our best to give our kiddos what they need in terms of literacy. And so this is one of the ways we can really help in terms of helping them learn how to read. So we're here to help you out. If you're a parent watching this, we're here to help you out. If you're a teacher, we're here to let you know all about our different levels and what you can tell your families to look for. We've had reading teachers say, oh, your child would look for books in the red group or look for books in the yellow group. And so that gives you at least a starting point when you come into the library, and it doesn't seem overwhelming when you see the shelf full of all these books. So it can be overwhelming for anyone. So
Yeah.
we hope that you enjoyed this episode. And Sheri, thank you so much for all your work on this too.
Oh, you're welcome. It was really fun picking these out.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again in our next episode. Have a great day. Bye.